to Atlanta, Georgia, the court and campus at Life University, the site and setting and the stage for minor league basketball's biggest stage in the NABL North American Basketball League Championship Series Final. Today, the 2017 NABL champion will be crowned on this court between the Western Conference champions, the San Antonio Lions, and the Eastern Conference champions. How appropriate is that? The reigning NABL champions, the Atlanta Show. Great to have you here live on the NABL network here at NABLbasketball.com. My name is Ken Buckner to be courtside and bring you the action once again as we did yesterday 2 times with the doubleheader that was the NABL Championship Series semifinal. In those matchups, well, yesterday game number 1, a 119-106 victory for the San Antonio Lions over the Kitsap Admirals, the West Coast Conference champions. The Atlanta Show then, well, notched their second straight trip in as many tries here to the Championship Series final yesterday when they took down the Huntsville Force 116-112. We welcome you here to this Championship Series pregame show. Our starting lineups and more just moments away and only minutes away from the tip-off of this between the Atlanta Show and the San Antonio Lions. When you look at these two clubs, well, the similarities are there in at least as much as the success they both enjoyed this season. San Antonio coming in with an overall record of 13-2, Atlanta 13-1 on 2017. And they do have comparable styles of play. That is mainly a perimeter game. Fantastic shooters on both sides of the court for these teams. Excellent team defense as well. And that being said, these two squads can put up a ton of points. So don't expect this one to be a low-scoring, slogging type basketball affair. No, we're going to definitely eclipse the 100 mark, possibly hitting the century mark by the third quarter. But we'll see how that transpires on the court. Really, that's where the similarities end, because two distinctly different organizations and how they're run and their outlook and whatnot. We'll just put it to you like this. The Atlanta Show under head coach David Kessler, a very methodical, systematic, strategic team. A lot of X's and O's in play, and they practice that way. In fact, they were here a good several hours before the doors were even open to the public practicing. So the Atlanta Show have been in their uniforms for quite some time today alone. They treat every game that way. Now, as for the San Antonio Lions, well, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And their kind of laissez-faire style of basketball has really worked for them in 2017. At some point you think, well, maybe it's going to catch up to them, but it hasn't yet. And here they are in the finals. They showed up, maybe about 20 minutes before game time. They're just doing their shoot around right now. And like I said, it works. Who knows how long they may have stayed out last night in Atlanta, but it doesn't matter. Two different, completely ran schemes, strategies, and squads, and we're going to see them clash today for the NABL final. Very cool. Now, a little bit yesterday, if you missed some of the semifinal action, as we said, San Antonio took down the Kitsap Admirals 119-106. In that game, huge performances, and one might expect from Eric Stewart, NABL 3-time Player of the Week honoree this 2017 season. Plus, he was also an MVP candidate and finalist. 32 points yesterday in the victory for Eric Stewart, number 22, you will see on your screen and here in a little bit. But also buoyed by excellent performances by the real lone big man of these two teams, Ben Conwell for the San Antonio Lions. He had 4 points in the first 2 quarters and then wound up with a huge second half. In fact, spent most of his day at the free throw line, which is actually where he's practicing right now in warm-ups. 26 points from the big man, Ben Conwell. Also coming in huge was Brian Evans, 25 points. And not near the 46 he had 2 weeks ago in the Western Conference final against the DFW United. But Brian Evans, he will attack the lane and float his way to the basket right down through the paint. Also, looking at some great defensive performances yesterday, Eric Nuncio really stepped it up big against some of the much larger players that the Kitsap Admirals brought along the floor. So a great defensive effort to keep the Kitsap Admirals just above that century mark. And of course, you know, with San Antonio, well, they're going to pour on the points. For Atlanta Show yesterday, they beat a very tough Huntsville forced team 116 to 112. Excellent performances by the NABL 2017 MVP Bernard Paul Parks, 32 points in that effort, and he was helped out by off the bench Brandon Hopkins, 23 points from the 5'9" on a good day. We'll put him at 5'9". He came off the bench to run the point through most of the second half, and like I said, ended up with 23 points in a double-double as far as assists as well. The final horn has sounded. We are ready for the starting pregame festivities, the national anthem, and the starting lineups here between the San Antonio Lions and the Atlanta Show. Proud to bring this to you on the NABL network. We now go to the PA announcer.
Beginning with the NABL Western Conference champions, coming in with a record of 13-2 on 2017, the San Antonio Lions. Starting at guard, at 5'10", out of the University of Incarnate Word, number 14, Eric Nuncio. At forward, at 6'3", out of Midland College, number 7, Brian Taverner. At forward, at 6'3", from Queens College, number 21, Brandon Nichols. At center, at 6'8", from Hale College, number 28, Ben Conwell. And at 6'3", from the University of Incarnate Word, number 22, NABL MVP finalist, Eric Stewart. These are your San Antonio Lions. The head coach is TC Javier. For the reigning NABL champions, Atlanta Show. Coming in with a record of 13-1 on the season. Starting guard at 6'6", out of Texas College, number 15, at 6'5", from Savannah State University, number 7, Josh Montgomery. At power forward, at 6'7", out of Alabama State University, number 20, Maurice Strong. At center, at 6'6", from Union University, number 11, and Tuan Hall. And at point guard, the 2017 NABL Most Valuable Player, out of Point University, number 21, Bernard Parks. The head coach of the Atlanta Show is David Winston.
And there you have it. The starting lineups have been announced for the San Antonio Lions and the Atlanta Show. Welcome to Life University, here courtside with you in Atlanta, Georgia for the 2017 NABL Championship Series Final. It is Ken Buckner with you here on the NABL Network and live at NABLbasketball.com. Taking the tip for the San Antonio Lions is Ben Conwell at 6'8", and he will be matched up against Maurice Strong at 6'7". The ball is in the air, and the San Antonio Lions have won the tip. We are underway here in Atlanta, Georgia for the Championship Series Final. Brian Evans makes his way down the lane as he did a lot yesterday. Can't complete the finish, and the rebound, Antoine Hall goes to Paul Parks. Bounced to the right side, Antoine Hall, and the big man puts up a three off the front of the rim. No good. Rebound by Ben Conwell and the Lions. The Lions working left to right on your screen, wearing their black jerseys with the Red Lions in script underscored along their chest with yellow outlined numbers. Eric Stewart bounces it down low to Brandon Nichols. Can't complete that, in a rebound by Maurice Strong at the Atlanta Show. The Atlanta Show, of course, wearing their home bright yellow uniforms with blue numbers and blue names underneath those numbers along the backside. Josh Montgomery, right wing to Paul Parks. And Bernard Parks, the NABL MVP, turnaround jumper, and he knocks it down for the first points of the game. And the Atlanta Show have taken an early lead, 2-0 here in Atlanta. Atlanta yesterday defeating the Huntsville Force 116-112. Eric Nuncio under the basket, and Nuncio gets the Lions on the board, knotted up at 2 apiece. Just underway here in the first quarter. Bernard Parks launches a three from downtown, rattles it home, and oh my, the MVP is already warmed up. Watch out. 5-2 San Antonio, 10.5 remaining in the opening frame. Eric Nuncio, far side. One-handed pass to Brian Evans. He'll try his luck from the point from three off the right side of the rim. No good. Rebound by Parks. And Atlanta keeping the pace, but Bernard Parks has to stop, slow down, and wait for the rest of his team to develop the play. Screen set by Maurice Strong. Tries to get it to Strong. Nothing there. Norm Stewart the far side. Norm Stewart launches one up and rips the cords. Seven to 2 Atlanta. Just under 10 minutes to play in the first quarter. Bryant Nichols just gets a free look from the free throw line. Instead tries to drive the lane. Nothing is there. Maurice Strong with the rebound, gets it to Norm Stewart. A stop and pop from the right wing, and oh my, it's raining daggers from beyond the arc today for the Atlanta Show. And a huge 10-2 lead to begin this contest. And not the situation that TC Caviel wanted his San Antonio Lions to be in early on. The question was, as Ben Conwell spins around, can't complete the hook shot. Loose ball on the floor and off of Brandon Nichols. The strategy, as far as San Antonio is concerned, to try to stop Bernard Parks. Well, as TC Caviel, the head coach, said, you're not going to. Antoine Hall left all alone, short on his three-pointer, rebound by Eric Nuncio. But he is like, well, do we allow him to drive the lane, or do we allow him from behind the arc? He has since chosen, it looks like, to keep Bernard Parks on the perimeter, where he's just as dangerous. Shot from 20, that's good for Eric Stewart. Eric Stewart, who had 32 points yesterday in the San Antonio win. Norm Stewart feeling it from downtown. And Norm Stewart yesterday had 7 points in the winning effort, but he's already eclipsed that today, sitting at 8. Eric Stewart makes a nice little move. Maurice Strong is a bit of a mismatch. Dishes it to Eric Nuncio, down low to Ben Conwell. Eric Stewart is going to drive the lane. Bounce pass, beautiful feed down low, but an even more beautiful stuff by Maurice Strong. Norm Stewart with the rebound, and there's Bernard Parks from 25. And Bernard Parks pounds his chest. Oh my goodness. There is not a timeout being taken so far. And yes, there it is for TC Caviel. Whoa, 8:06 left to go in the first quarter, and a 16-4 early advantage from the Atlanta Show. And it's all courtesy of that man right there, Norm Stewart, and Bernard Parks as well. There's Norm Stewart again. He has already hit 2 3-pointers. And Bernard Parks has put in his effort from behind the arc as well. Defensively, Maurice Strong was big yesterday, and he was big again today, and there is Paul Parks right there, knocking it from far beyond the arc. So San Antonio defensively, no doubt, was giving Atlanta the outside shot. It's like, all right, if you're going to beat us, do it from the lowest probability. Well, so far, Atlanta, who, as we said, has been on this court not only all season, but today alone for a good 2.5, 3 hours before game time getting ready. Well, it's showing right now. The Atlanta show is showing off. San Antonio hoping to remedy this situation and not dig themselves any big of a deeper hole, down 16-4. 8:06 remaining in the first. We're back underway here in Atlanta, Georgia. Eric Nunzio drives the lane, dishes it to the left side, and a wide open Brandon Nichols. Inside of 8 left to go in the first. 16-6, 10-point Atlanta lead. Josh Montgomery near side. Drives the lane, he'll just pull up a J, and he knocks it down from 17. Everything is falling in the basket for the show. Brian Evans, right side, finds an opening. Turned around jumper. Short on that shot. Rebound tipped by Antoine Hall, but Ben Conwell there to finish and seal the deal. As we said, Conwell yesterday, majority of his points, in fact, all but 4 of them came in the second half. 26 total in the win over the Kitsap Admirals. Ball stripped away, but out of bounds by Brian Evans, and it'll remain Atlanta show ball. So Bernard Parks will inbound from the baseline, left of the basket to Josh Montgomery. Montgomery hands it off to Norm Stewart, left wing. Waiting for the offense to develop and the play to be called. Tries to go to Antoine Hall, instead finds a wide open Josh Montgomery, and that goes in for 3 as well. 5 3-pointers in the early going as we approach the 7-minute mark of the first quarter for the Atlanta show. Brandon Nichols, baseline drive. Good defense by Josh Montgomery. Ball tipped up by Ben Conwell, and Montgomery with a rebound. Antoine Hall, two-handed pass down to Maurice Strong, and he walks it down the lane but cannot finish around the basket. Ball goes off of Norm Stewart's hands. And San Antonio will go the length of the floor after the turnover. Oh, correction. No, it was off of Eric Stewart's hands. Long shot for Antoine Hall, not there. Punched away by Norm Stewart and ends up in the hands of Brian Evans. Brian Evans to the near side right wing for Eric Nunzio. Behind the back pass, over the shoulder pass rather, to Eric Stewart. Eric Stewart right wing. Drives Josh Montgomery on defense, and kissing it off the glass is Eric Stewart. He has 4. 21-10, 11-point Atlanta lead here in the early going. Pull-up 3 off the mark for Josh Montgomery, but Atlanta gets the rebound courtesy of Norm Stewart. A long 3, no good for Parks, but Maurice Strong comes in with the rebound. Now Eric Nunzio wrestles it away, and out of the scrum is San Antonio. A 2-on-2 on the other end. Losing his footing and losing the ball is Brian Evans, and that's the kind of start it's been inside the 6-minute mark now for San Antonio. Good block by Ben Conwell. Another block by Ben Conwell, and the ball falls into the hands of Eric Nunzio. Stripped away, Josh Montgomery, and the ball still in Atlanta's possession. Josh Montgomery, now this is batted by Ben Conwell. Oh my. Eric Stewart punching it away, but Josh Montgomery holds on to it. And now both teams and myself collect their breath. 11-10 on the shot clock now. Atlanta, bounce pass down low on the give and go, no go. As stuffed is Paul Parks, and Parks can't get it to fall. Eric Nunzio now coming back, and it's an advantage for the San Antonio Lions, and a good defensive play by Norm Stewart, who cascades into the stands. Well, Antoine Hall was going to the basket. Ben Conwell, 1 block, 2 blocks, tips it away, and here he is again. Another block, 3 blocks in that succession by Ben Conwell. And Conwell, the 6'8" center out of Hill College in Central Texas. Really the only big necessarily for the San Antonio Lions. Well, I say that with Missouri, Michon Lewis at their disposal as well. And a beautiful floater right in front of the basket for Brandon Nichols. And he has 4. And San Antonio trying to chip their way back into this one, a single-digit lead. Brandon Hopkins has checked in for the Atlanta show. Antoine Hall being guarded by Vince Reynosa, also checking in. And the long shot in and out, no good, but Marcus Johnson tries to save it from going out of bounds, but instead puts his foot on the baseline. And the subs keep coming for the Atlanta show, as the 6'7" forward Darius Scott looks to check in at the next available moment. Nichols, Reynosa, Conwell, Brian Evans, and Eric Stewart on the floor for San Antonio. A shot from 19, no good off the front of the rim, and rebound by Marcus Johnson. Mr. Primetime, as he calls himself. Brandon Hopkins, who was just mammoth yesterday in the Atlanta win. A beautiful over-the-shoulder backboard banked shot by Brandon Hopkins. We'll take a look at that again here in just a minute. A whistle on the play. And a San Antonio foul, their first team foul. Pardon me, that was on Atlanta. First team foul. I believe on Norm Stewart. So that stops the clock now with the ball being inbounded at 4:13 remaining in the first quarter. An 11-point lead with 11 on the shot clock now for the Lions. Atlanta jumped up, jumped out early. Ball knocked out of the hands of Ben Conwell by Maurice Strong. Coming back is Brandon Hopkins. Maurice Strong will try his luck from long range and well short on the shot off the underside of the rim inside of 4 minutes remaining in the opening quarter. Eric Stewart, screen set by Conwell. Stewart looking for any available line to dish it to. He'll take it to the hole himself, and he can't one-hand that with his left hand. Rebound by Norm Stewart, and the Atlanta show are running back and keeping the pace quickly here in the first. No good on the shot by Johnson, but he gets his own rebound and is taken to the floor. And Brandon Nichols picks up his first team foul for San Antonio. And checking in is Brian Rutledge in for Mo Strong. Maurice Strong last year playing with the Savannah Cavaliers. Came over in the offseason to Atlanta. Brandon Hopkins, 5'9" on a good day. Puts up a shot, and a beautiful shot by Norm Stewart again. And Norm Stewart has come to play. 10 points here in the first quarter for Stewart. 3:13 remains in the first quarter. 25-12. Atlanta. Eric Stewart thinks about a three. Now Brian Evans will take that three off the front of the rim. No good. Rebound by Vince Reynosa. And an excellent effort by Reynosa, the founder of the Lions. This for three off the right side of the rim, and it's not falling for the San Antonio Lions today. Ball tipped out of bounds and into the third row of the stands by Eric Stewart. And we have a timeout taken on the floor. We will do the same here. Don't go anywhere as our coverage will continue with 2:53 remaining in the first quarter of action. The Atlanta show showing what they're made of. Up 25-12 here in the early goings of the NABL Championship on the NABL Network. And welcome back to Atlanta, Georgia. The NABL Championship Series final. The Atlanta show right now a early lead, and it's a sizable one, 25-12, doubling up and then some on the San Antonio Lions. Ken Buckner courtside with you, and the Atlanta show on their home court are showing off. And with the ball now, Norm Stewart. Screen set by Darius Scott. Norm Stewart turns around to his right side. Ball batted away momentarily by Eric Stewart, but Atlanta remains in possession. Brandon Hopkins, the speedster. Here we go from the left side. Brian Rutledge. Ball bounces in and out. At the rebound collected by Darius Scott. And Brandon Hopkins will reset. Takes the shot from long range. No good for Brandon Hopkins. And rebound by Mishawn Lewis for San Antonio. Brandon Nichols, right side of the basket. Good defense by Brian Rutledge and company, and a collision underneath the basket as Marcus Johnson And Marcus Johnson picks up his first personal. Second team foul for the show. And it gives the ball right back to the San Antonio Lions. Inbound from Reynosa to Mishan Lewis, working his way underneath the basket and in for Missouri. Brandon Hopkins, guarded by Vince Reynosa. Brandon Hopkins over to Bernard Parks, drives his way to the basket, off the glass and in for the MVP. And 10 points in the first quarter with 1:45 remaining for Bernard Parks. Brandon Nichols, right wing. Baseline, takes the shot. Fade away, no good. Ball batted around and rebounded by Josh Simmons. Over to Vince Reynosa. This for three. And down in the first. Vince Reynosa wanted a foul on that. Getting knocked to the hardwood, but no dice. Looping pass on the way to Brandon Hopkins near side. And 3 seconds in the key. And a technical foul on San Antonio. Illegal defense. So that will set up Bernard Paul Parks for his technical free throw attempt. And he knocks it home. First trip to the line today for Parks, who spent the majority of the fourth quarter at the free throw stripe and went a very, very admirable 10 for 12 from the free throw line yesterday in the 116-112 win over the Force. Brandon Hopkins to the left wing, and quite the mismatch as Mishan Lewis is somehow guarding him and just flat out runs him, and yeah, that ain't gonna work. Brandon Hopkins, as we approach 60 seconds remaining in the first quarter, and Atlanta's put up 30 points. Mishan Lewis swatted away by Maurice Strong. Brandon Hopkins, a jump pass, left side, and count the basket and the foul for Bernard Parks. Oh dear. From beyond the arc, and Parks will go to the line for the 4-point opportunity. There's a swat from big Maurice Strong, and here's the foul. As Brandon Nichols earns his second and second team foul for the San Antonio Lions. Nichols will sit down, and Eric Nuncio comes back in. Your NABL officiating crew today consisting of Fennessy Ransom, Tommy Morrissey, and Dante Carter. And Bernard Parks knocks it down. 46 ticks left to go in the first quarter of action. A 20-point lead for Atlanta. Josh Simmons finding his way through, and that is swatted away as well by the 6'7" forward, Darius Scott. And right now, Atlanta is doing it on both sides of the court and doing it with ease. Mishan Lewis, baseline drive, under the basket, doesn't fall. Rebound Atlanta, 30 seconds left to go in the first. Brandon Hopkins glides his way through, and an offensive foul on Hopkins. That's his first. As Eric Nuncio was set. And it gives the ball back with 0.8 of a second disparity between the shot clock and the game clock. 22 seconds now remaining on the game clock in the first quarter. Down by 20, Eric Stewart tries to trim the deficit somewhat, but good defense again by Darius Scott. Rebound Atlanta, and Bernard Parks will hold for the final shot. Now tosses it over to Brandon Hopkins. Hopkins, guarded by Vince Reynosa. Brandon Hopkins behind the back, and no shot will be taken. And that concludes the first quarter of action, and what a quarter to open things up here in the final for the Atlanta show. Headed to the second, 34-14. Atlanta leads the San Antonio Lions. We'll be back in a moment after this on the NABL Network. Lightning-like start to the game for the Atlanta show, up by 20, 34-14. Brandon Hopkins getting it done. An early substitution off the bench as he was yesterday in the victory over the Huntsville Force. But Maurice Strong has 2 big blocks to his credit. And then, of course, Bernard Parks, the MVP, proving why he is the most valuable player, raining it down from beyond the arc with 3 threes so far. Darius Scott, likewise, also had a big block in there, and defensively and offensively, everything going Atlanta's way. Starting off the second quarter, 34-14, Atlanta with the lead and the ball. Bernard Parks drifting to his left, looking for the lane, now looking for a wide open, and finds Norm Stewart for 3 off the right side of the rim, but not a San Antonio Lion in any sort of proximity to that rebound, luckily for the And welcome back here to Atlanta, Georgia, the NABL Championship Series final. I apologize for our technical difficulties here within Life University. Having some issue with the live internet streaming connection. But we are back up and running, 44-28. Atlanta still with a 16-point lead here in the first half with 5.5 left to go in the second. Pull-up jumper from Brian Evans, no good, and rebound hard to the floor. San Antonio's Ben Conwell. And called on that is Maurice Strong, who picks up his first personal, second team foul within the second quarter for Atlanta. Inbound and the Atlanta, Brandon Hopkins dishes it to Maurice Strong. Over to Paul Parks, and Bernard Parks off the rim, no good. Rebound by Brian Evans in the San Antonio Lions. San Antonio, Brian Evans all the way coast to coast. And a slicing and dicing move by Brian Evans. His first bucket, surprisingly, of the game. And the lead has been trimmed, and the closest for a while now, to 11. 44-33 Atlanta, 4:45 remaining in the second quarter. Brandon Hopkins puts up a J and knocks it home. Ken Buckner, courtside with you here on this championship final Sunday in the North American Basketball League. Thanks for watching here at the NABL Network. And foul called on Brandon Hopkins, who slumps his shoulders in defeat, as Keith Benford took a tumble. Inbound to Brian Evans. Evans one-hands it to Vince Reynoso from the right wing. No good on his 3. Vince Reynoso usually knocks those down with deadly accuracy, but he's 0 for 2 from beyond the arc today. But Bernard Parks just cannot defend him, cannot stop him. Parks, 21 points here in the first half alone, and that's with 4:05 left to play. Ball tipped up by Brandon Hopkins, and Atlanta steals it. Ends up with Maurice Strong. Bounce pass to Norm Stewart. Norm Stewart from the left wing, all alone. 3, no good off the front of the rim. Rebound Vince Reynoso in San Antonio. San Antonio, a streaky team, but more times that's not a negative connotation, because normally that streak is hot. Keith Benford for 3, and that is way off the mark. Brian Rutledge may have had a hand on that. Subs coming in, Josh Simmons back into the game for the Lions, and Atlanta's Antoine Hall comes in to give Bernard Parks a breather, and Brandon Hopkins. Now Bernard Parks stays out. Hopkins, though, does go to the bench. 3:35 remaining in the second quarter. 48-33, 15-point Atlanta lead, looking for more. Norm Stewart, guarded in between the circles by Vince Reynoso. Vince Reynoso, the founder of the San Antonio Lions, and getting significant playing time today. Played sparingly yesterday. Antoine Hall no good, but Maurice Strong comes in and rips away the rebound. He turns around, tries to make it off the glass, no dice. And Antoine Hall saving it from going out of bounds. No, it bounces along the baseline. Eric Nunzio checking back in for the San Antonio Lions, and he will spell Vince Reynoso. Ben Conwell bounces it in. Eric Nunzio, two-handed pass to Eric Stewart near side. Stewart guarded by the MVP. MVP candidate against MVP. Nunzio for 3, and Norm Stewart at least got hands in the face. enough to slow some trajectory of that shot. But Eric Nuncio not finding the basket at all. Ball goes out of bounds. Timeout on the floor with 2:55 left here to go in the second quarter. 48-33, 15-point advantage for the Atlanta Show, who jumped out early in this contest, firing behind the arsenal that is Bernard Parks and Norm Stewart. In the first quarters alone, those two combined for 25 points of the Atlanta Show's 34 first quarter totals. A combined 5 3-pointers also between Norm Stewart and Bernard Parks, who were hitting it from long range early on. And it was the strategy of T.C. Caviel, the head coach of the Lions, to give that shot to the Atlanta Show. And as I was talking to him before the game and during warm-ups, I was asking, all right, so who's going to be on Bernard Parks? Well, he speculated that it would be Eric Nuncio, and that he was going to push him to the perimeter and not allow him to drive to the lane, or at least as best as any defender could. Well, that early on did not seem to work, as Parks was hitting it from nearly 28 feet, 3-pointers. Parks again. Now he does drive down the lane. That ball swatted away, but and Ben Conwell will pick up the foul. That's his first personal. Second team foul for San Antonio. And it puts Parks back on the line, who has been perfect today and remains as such. Josh Montgomery back in. He will supplant Brian Rutledge on the floor for Atlanta. 2:46 with the clock frozen left to go here in the second quarter. And Parks extends that Atlanta Show lead, now up to 17. Eric Stewart finding his way through the lane somehow, but not finding the basket at the end. And a timeout taken on the floor, as Eric Stewart he keeps complaining that he got smacked in the face, but a technical foul has been charged. And Norm Stewart will shoot the technical. We'll have to wait and see who that was on, as Norm Stewart misses the technical, and Atlanta will keep the ball. And Eric Nuncio goes to the bench and barking the entire way. So it is quite possible it's Eric Nuncio that received the technical. Again, at the half, we'll get some clarification, as Bernard Parks stumbled and ended up getting a back of the hand inadvertently by Josh Simmons. Josh Simmons picks up his first personal. Third team foul on San Antonio. And they will side out. Long pass, and that is tipped away. Good defense by Eric Stewart. Intended for Maurice Strong. And there you are looking at the two benches between David Kessler and assistant coach Chuck Melito. And then on the right side of your screen was T.C. Caviel. Back underway, Antoine Hall left wing. Being guarded rather well by Josh Simmons. He does find Maurice Strong, who turns around for an 18-footer off the front of the rim. No good, but it goes directly on the rebound to Josh Montgomery, and kicking it back out to Norm Stewart to Bernard Parks. Approaching the 2-minute mark here in the second quarter. 50-33 Atlanta, who have led from the jump. Tossing it, Norm Stewart from the right wing. No good on the three-pointer. Stewart has went cold from behind the arc after starting off red hot in the first quarter, as we've mentioned. Eric Stewart driving baseline left side, off the glass too much, but there was Ben Conwell. He can't get it to fall. Collision under the basket, no whistle. And Parks the other way this time for three. In and out, no good. Goes right into the hands of Eric Stewart, who finds a wide open Brandon Nichols, and Nichols finishes. 8 in the game for Nichols, and 90 seconds remain here in the first half. 15-point Atlanta lead. Norm Stewart could have taken the shot, instead waits for Josh Montgomery. Montgomery turns it back, what a move! And then short on the shot, but a rebound by Maurice Strong. Antoine Hall kicks it around clockwise to Bernard Parks. Parks, one-handed pass to Antoine Hall. From the point for 3, the big man rattles it home. 53-35 with 60 seconds left to go in the first half. And back to the drawing board for halftime when San Antonio goes into the locker room, no doubt. Brandon Nichols from the right side, he's fouled on his way. And Josh Montgomery earns his first personal. Third-team foul for the Atlanta show. And Brandon Nichols heads to the line for the first time today. Well, another part of this narrative is that the San Antonio Lions have not been able to get to the foul line in this first half only once, and that was a technical foul shot, and Brandon Nichols can't capitalize on the first free throw that did not come from a technical. That technical, by the way, an illegal defense called earlier in the game on Norm Stewart. So other than that, no personal fouls, at least shooting fouls, from Atlanta. Nichols good on the second. 49 seconds left to go, and a bit of a errant pass that may have been tipped by Brian Evans. No, it was not. It just flat out went out of bounds. Parks intending that for Josh Montgomery. And 48.6 seconds left to go in the first half. Eric Stewart to Conwell. Conwell finishes it with an underhanded lay-in. 34 ticks remaining in the second quarter. Parks. A 12-second differential on the shot clock and a foul called on Josh Simmons. That is his second and fourth team foul on San Antonio. Pardon me, that's the fifth team foul, so now in the bonus is Atlanta. And Parks at the line, who's been perfect from the charity stripe today. Just as I say that, the announcers curse, and he misses his first. 23.9 seconds left to go in the first half. Coming up at halftime, we will have our first half trends, our recap in the scoring as Parks makes his second. We're going to try to get some guests to stop by with 20 seconds remaining until the half. And we'll promo some of what is coming up in the second half and after the game. That's all coming ahead at halftime. Brandon Nichols with the left-handed layup. 7 seconds remaining in the first half. Bernard Parks earns the whistle, and Eric Stewart earns his second personal. And in the bonus with 3.4 seconds remaining, Parks heads back to the line. 7 for 8 today from the stripe, Bernard Parks, who didn't make it to the free throw line much at all until the fourth quarter when it was Foul City late in the game as Huntsville was trying to squeeze out every possession and second they could. 15-point lead, now 16 for Atlanta. 3 seconds remaining. Bounce pass to Josh Simmons. He'll have a chance. Puts one. Oh, almost banks it in, and that concludes the first half of action. 16-point lead. The Atlanta show head into the break leading the San Antonio Lions after 2, 56-40. We'll be back here in a moment on the NABL network for our halftime show on NABL TV. Back in a moment from Atlanta. And our coverage continues here of the NABL Championship Series final live here at the NABL Network, NABL TV at NABLbasketball.com. Our thanks for you for watching here, our telecast live from Atlanta, Georgia, here in the Corton campus of Life University. Here at the half, 56-40, it's been all Atlanta show over the San Antonio Lions, but with a half to play, and these resurgent Lions, as we've seen, can come back at a moment's notice. Look for that coming up. We'll look at our point totals and scoring summary here in just a moment as our halftime show continues. But here I am joined by the commissioner of the NABL, and it's always a pleasure. Welcome to the show, C. Travis Johnson.
Thank you, Ken.
All right. Well, Commissioner Johnson, your just overall emotions and thoughts here on the first half of action, and boy, the Atlanta show showing off once again.
Well, they are, Ken. And I think right here you have actually talent versus heart.
Yeah.
So I think it's a battle of talent versus heart. And so tune into the second half, because I do think heart always fight to the very end. And so I do think San Antonio is going to continue to fight to the very last second. And it's been a very incredible game. And so I'm looking forward to see what the second half is going to bring.
Yeah, and we've seen that a lot from the Lions over the years. You know, we've said they're a streaky team, and not in a negative way, because most of those streaks are hot streaks. They can catch fire at a moment's notice and have done so frequently throughout 2017, and can easily shoot their way back into this one when it comes to offense. A lot of exciting things happening within the North American Basketball League. Of course, this year number 2 in 2017, an extremely successful regular season, playoffs, and now championship series. 2 fantastic semifinal games yesterday. You know, we've talked about it before on the backcourt, but looking back on 2017, what are some of the things that stick out to you?
Well, the talent. 2016 to 2017, the talent increased tremendously.
Yeah.
So we had to have a lot of talented players. The championship series alone will show you how much talent the league has. So I'm excited what we got from the teams. The owners across the nation has been absolutely amazing. I'm just excited at what we're doing now. This weekend clearly shows who we are and what we've become.
Yeah.
You know, we had a lot of great festivities. The owners have absolutely enjoyed this whole experience. And so it's our job to continue to find the best owners, and that will then attract the best players to this league, and we will continue to build upon this amazing platform to give owners, players, and fans an amazing opportunity.
And we talked last week on the backcourt, which, by the way, if you're not watching the backcourt, the official TV show of the North American Basketball League, you can catch it every single Wednesday during the season, and we have our big season recap show airing this week on NABL TV at NABLbasketball.com. We talked last week there at the NABL headquarters about some of the expansion plans, and we already see some of the new teams and their ownership groups here in attendance throughout this weekend.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so we had our 2018 owners meeting on a Friday. Absolutely amazing. All the new owners are enjoying the whole weekend of the championship series. And next year, the championship series is in San Antonio, Texas.
Ah, there you go.
And so, yes, we have a lot of new amazing ownership groups in Alabama, Michigan, more teams on the West Coast, and so we'll be revealing those teams in the next 2 months.
Very good. All right. So stay tuned for all the latest breaking news as far as expansion. When the NABL is coming to your backyard, you can always get the news latest on NABLbasketball.com, and of course follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and on Facebook as well too. All right. So second half, you're predicting a comeback to make this thing close. We certainly have seen that before, as we said.
Yes, absolutely. Don't have any idea who's going to win. Some fans pick Atlanta, some pick San Antonio, but as I said earlier, this is absolutely talent versus heart. Sometimes talent wins, sometimes heart wins, but what we do know is that heart never stops. And so I can expect a nail biter getting to the halfway point of the fourth quarter.
It's going to be exciting to see. I appreciate the time once again.
Thank you so much.
That is Commissioner of the North American Basketball League, C. Travis Johnson. 56-40 here at halftime. More to come as we continue our NABL Championship Series halftime show after this, live on the NABL Network. Welcome back to Atlanta, Georgia. And the first half is in the books in the NABL 2017 finals. The Atlanta show leading 56-40 at the break. Just a few minutes away from the start of the third as we look at some of the highlights from the first 2 quarters of action. It's been pretty much all Atlanta show from the jump. Seeing the long ball in buckets. As the defense has stepped up for the show. Maurice Strong, 3 strong rejections throughout the first half. Brandon Hopkins has come off the bench and has pumped in 10 points to the Atlanta attack. Bernard Parks leads all scorers for Atlanta and the game, 26 points in the first 2 quarters. Buoyed by Norm Stewart's 11. Brandon Hopkins, as we said, 10 points. Josh Montgomery with 7, and Antoine Hall with 5. Leading scorers for the San Antonio Lions. You've seen the defensive effort there from Ben Conwell, and Conwell has come in with 4 points in the effort, but the Lions are led in scoring 14 points by Eric Stewart, 11 points by Brandon Nichols, 4 from Eric Nuncio, and Michon Lewis and Brian Evans with 2 apiece. But it's been all Bernard Parks, the NABL MVP, living up to that most valuable player moniker and holding true to form, just toying with the San Antonio Lions defense. But as we said, and when we talked to Commissioner Johnson, that these Lions are no strangers to deficits, and they are not afraid of them at all. A sometimes slow rolling team to get started in a game. San Antonio can catch fire in a heartbeat and offensively rarely have an issue in getting the basket in the bucket. So don't expect this one to be a runaway victory by Atlanta. Don't expect this one to not get extremely close at some point towards the end. We've seen it time and time again from the San Antonio Lions. Their hashtag, their slogan, their motto is Lion Life. And they play exactly as Commissioner Johnson was saying, with nothing but heart. But for Atlanta, it's show up and show out, and that is what they do and have done all season long. Well, the horn has sounded. 56-40 as we begin the third quarter. Ken Buckner courtside with you from Life University in Atlanta, Georgia. Technically Marietta, just to the northwest of the Atlanta downtown area. And we are back underway. Third quarter begins with a 16-point lead in Atlanta with the ball. Antoine Hall in the circles. Dishes down low to Norm Stewart. Shoves off Eric Nuncio. Josh Montgomery thinks about a 3, instead kicks it to Norm Stewart. He does the same, moves inside of the arc, and he takes a shot from 20. No good, but rebounded by Maurice Strong. Strong turnaround jumper off the glass, no good. Rebound by Ben Conwell, and the San Antonio Lions come back. And a technical foul. Waiting to see who the tech is charged. Technical foul charge to Maurice Strong. And that's his first technical. And if you're asking yourself, as Brian Evans knocks down the technical free throw, and if you're asking yourself about the rules, regulations, and guidelines within the NABL, well, we play under the same, by and large, rules that the NBA does. So 2 technicals means you go home. And Norm Stewart is whistled for his 3rd personal and first team foul of the quarter for Atlanta. Eric Nuncio at the line, his first trip to the charity stripe today. And Nuncio adds a point, now has 5 total in the contest, and trims the Atlanta lead to 14. And this is a big difference to start the third quarter. Not much from the line when it came to the first half for San Antonio. In fact, they only made a trip to the free throw line twice, one on a technical for an illegal defense, as Eric Stewart ends up with the ball on the turnover. Kicks it to Eric Nuncio, all alone to his own devices. Nuncio for three. Oh, and here comes a bit of a comeback and a run by the Lions. Down by 10 now. 11:03 remaining here in the third quarter. Bernard Parks tries to one-hand it in, and he misses that shot. And now the San Antonio faithful, who have traveled from the middle part of Texas, have rose to their feet. Brian Evans off the glass and in. And now the Atlanta lead has been trimmed to single digits for the first time since the first quarter. 56-48. Show 10.5 remaining in the third. Bernard Parks for three. That around and out. Rebound by Eric Stewart. Stewart two-hands it over to Brian Evans for three from the left wing. The short on the shot, and Maurice Strong comes down with the Atlanta rebound. Bernard Parks working with down the lane. Left side, no whistle, good defense, and there is the foul. I believe may be called on, yes, Brian Evans. And that is Brian Evans' first personal and first team foul for San Antonio. Eric Nuncio, the dagger from down low, and then Brian Evans, who can float through the lane like a cloud through the stratosphere. He's got quite a bit of grace to his game. As Josh Montgomery misses his first. And there's nothing that will make David Kessler, the head coach of the Atlanta Show, more anxious than missed free throw opportunities from the line. Missing both. Josh Montgomery, rebound Eric Stewart, and here come the Lions. Down by 8, trying to trim it to 6 or beyond. Eric Nuncio behind, over the shoulder pass to Brandon Nichols. He goes baseline, fadeaway shot, in and out, rattles back to Bernard Parks. And just under 10 to play in the third quarter. Antoine Hall, left side of the lane, tries to lay it in, can't get it to fall, and Atlanta can't buy a bucket here in the early goings of the third quarter. Behind the back dribbling, beautiful display by Brian Evans, who dishes it to Brandon Nichols, over to Eric Stewart. Eric Stewart, Euro step, but not enough on the lay-in attempt. Long pass to Maurice Strong by Antoine Hall, but Strong with not the finish he was hoping for. And a little high step action by Eric Stewart, spins, and a foul called on Antoine Hall. And Antoine Hall right there, you can see, flagged for the shooting foul. And that is Hall's second personal. Second team foul of the quarter for Atlanta. Team fouls reset every quarter in the NABL. Eric Stewart's first free throw attempt of the game. And that is quite a bit different from the first half of yesterday's matchup against the Kitsap Admirals, where the Lions had no problems getting to the foul line. Stewart good on both. And a 6-point lead by Atlanta, and Bernard Parks tosses it out of bounds. San Antonio feeling it. Atlanta trying to get their wits about them. This ebb and flow game now. Inbound to Eric Stewart. Far side. Hands it underhanded to Eric Nuncio. Nuncio drifts to his left. He'll go for three. Nuncio from downtown. His second tray of the quarter. And we have a one-possession game. First time that's happened within the first couple of minutes of the first. Ball tipped out of the hands of Bernard Parks. And Atlanta's sleepwalking all of a sudden. Brandon Hopkins looking to check in. He does for Antoine Hall. And you heard yesterday in the interview that I had at halftime with, it was the post-game interview that I had with David Kessler, as Maurice Strong takes an Eric Nuncio palm to the face. May have got some eye in that, but as Eric Nuncio was trying to guard Brandon Hopkins, Maurice Strong goes down, and Nuncio, as you can see, immediately checks on Maurice Strong. And Maurice Strong may have had a little help from Eric Nuncio on getting to the ground. Regardless, that is Nuncio's first personal. He does have a tech in this contest. And the NABL officiating crew will tend to a wet spot. As I was saying, David Kessler, when talking about Brandon Hopkins, who had a stellar 23 points off the bench in relief yesterday for the Atlanta Show's win over the Huntsville Force. They call him the water bug or the spark plug. And that is exactly what David Kessler uses him for. A little energy off the bench, kind of like a little 5'9" can of Red Bull. Well, he's in now. Maurice Strong seems to have collected himself. He takes the shot and misses it, and a foul on the rebound. And you hear the San Antonio crowd. And if that's on Norm Stewart's, that would be Stewart's fourth personal. .850 remaining in the third quarter. Ryan Evans walking his way up the court, loses the handle for a minute. Looks to get it over to down low to Ben Conwell. The Atlanta crowd chanting out defense. Conwell, turnaround jumper off the glass, no good. Rebound by San Antonio's Brian Evans. A wide open Eric Stewart. He takes the shot for three, and we are knotted up at 56 apiece. Oh my goodness. Steal by Brandon Nichols on the inbound. Eric Stewart now. Brian Evans from three. No, he's going to drive the lane, finds an opening, and San Antonio has taken the lead. This is the NABL. 58-56 Lions. And the Atlanta benching crowd is a bit stunned. Brandon Hopkins puts up a prayer and the foul. Brandon Hopkins, there's the spark plug that the show needed. And we're all knotted up with Brandon Hopkins going to the line, 58 apiece. The crowd has come alive here at Life University. As you see Brian Evans' handiwork, and here is the foul. Eric Nuncio picking that one up, and Nuncio's second as Eric Stewart goes to the bench. Short on the shot is Brandon Hopkins, collision underneath, and that's San Antonio ball, I believe, as it goes off the hands of Brandon Hopkins. So 58-58. Largest lead so far of the game for Atlanta was 17 at one point through the second quarter. And that is evaporated. And whatever happened in that San Antonio locker room has caused this. San Antonio back on top, 60-58. Well, credit Commissioner Johnson for his analysis calling the comeback, but he said it wouldn't happen until the fourth quarter. Here we are, 7.5 left to go in the third, and San Antonio's got a lead now, a 2-on-1 breakaway with Brandon Nichols and Ben Conwell. Nichols underneath the basket, good defense, but it didn't matter. Nichols has 14 in the game. 7:11 remaining in the third. 62-58, 4-point Lion lead. And now the Atlanta faithful trying to cheer the show back on. Brandon Hopkins no good from beyond the arc. Ball tipped out of the hands of Brandon Nichols, and it's Lions possession. What a turnabout. What a change of affairs. And TC Caviel, the San Antonio head coach, must have been blistering some paint on the walls in the locker room for the San Antonio Lions, but whatever it was, it's worked. Nichols, stuffed by Norm Stewart, but Brian Evans ends up with it, puts a floater in, and that falls for the San Antonio Lions. Brian Evans, who had 2 points in the first half, is now sitting with 8. Foul on the play. I believe that will be charged to Brandon Nichols. And you see a very calm David Kessler at this point to the right of your screen. But TC Caviel is standing up, trying to fuel this Lions resurgence. 6.5 remaining in the third. Josh Montgomery driving to the lane. Good defense by Brian Evans, and he comes up with the rebound. He'll take it down the lane, maybe coast to coast. No, hands it to Brian Evans, and a charge called on Brandon Nichols. Yes, Brandon Nichols. Pardon me, Brian Evans, and that's his second personal of the contest. After the pass from Evans to Nichols, Evans runs into a firmly feet-planted Norm Stewart. 64-58. San Antonio has erased a 17-point deficit. It was 16 at the end of the second quarter. Norm Stewart left wing. Elbows, shoulders his way in. Guarded by Brandon Nichols. You can see San Antonio has come alive in enthusiasm as well, but Maurice Strong, two-handed jam on the put-in, and what a way to get your first 2 points of the game, Maurice Strong. Inside is 6 left to go in the third. 64-60 San Antonio. Eric Nuncio, left wing. Drives baseline. Kicks it out. Brandon Nichols. Guarded by Norm Stewart. Nichols draws a triple team, finds Brian Evans, and Brian Evans will do that all day long. Rainbows at home. 10 points for Evans. 8 of those in the third quarter. Josh Montgomery for 3. Around and out. Ball tipped out of bounds. San Antonio ball off the hands of Norm Stewart, and a timeout on the floor taken by David Kessler and the Atlanta Show. Their lead is gone. The San Antonio Lions are now up with their largest lead of the contest by 6, 66-60. 5:23 remains in the third quarter. Back for more after this. Don't go anywhere on the NABL Network. Welcome back. NABL Championship Series final after the timeout. San Antonio with the lead and the ball, up by 6. 5:20 remains in the third. Eric Stewart back into the game and far side with the ball. Loses the handle, but gets it over to Eric Nuncio. Nuncio spins to his left side, and that is stuffed by Maurice Strong. Rebound Brennan Hopkins. Norm Stewart near side. He loses the handle, but finds Josh Montgomery, and that is swatted away by Eric Stewart. No whistle on the foul. No, it just went flat out all ball and out of bounds. Atlanta retains possession, and Norm Stewart will inbound. Maurice Strong thinks about a shot. Now he does. Pull it up from 16. No good. Norm Stewart with the tip and the rebound by Josh Montgomery. Montgomery walks it out. Being guarded by Vince Reynosa is checked into the game. And Reynosa flagged for his first personal. And with 4:52 remaining, now Atlanta's in the bonus for the rest of the quarter. Josh Montgomery sets up, left-handed shooter. He is 0 for 2 today from the stripe. Now 0 for 3. Sporting the pink headband today. And Montgomery yesterday ended up with 18 points on the effort in the 116-112 victory over Huntsville. That's the first make for Montgomery from the line. Trims the lead to 5. San Antonio 66-61. 4:50 left to go in the third. Eric Nuncio, beautiful feed down low, but he can't finish. Rebound by Montgomery. Brennan Hopkins running it down the far side. Hopkins being shadowed by Vince Reynosa. Spins right into him, now turns away, and a fadeaway shot can't fall. Ben Conwell with a rebound, but he's being guarded and shadowed by Josh Montgomery momentarily. Eric Nuncio, no look pass to Brian Evans to the near side. Evans back to Nuncio at the point. Nuncio over to Eric Stewart. Stewart from the right wing. Stewart's left-handed, way too much mustard on that, but Ben Conwell with the rebound kicks it out to Eric Nuncio. Nuncio going in for 3 off the back iron, and that's snatched down by big Maurice Strong. Turnover and a foul on Josh Montgomery, and we'll see if they call that a breakaway foul. And that is what the discussion, no doubt, is over. Nonetheless, it will be on Josh Montgomery, his second personal. And it will not be considered a breakaway foul. A breakaway foul would necessitate 2 shots from the line. And your NABL officiating crew once again. Fennessy Ransom, Tommy Morrissey, and Dante Carter, part of the NABL Officials Union under the tutelage and guidance of NABL President of Officials, Emmanuel Burrell. Brian Evans, a shot from 18 off the back iron, no good. Rebound by Josh Montgomery. And here come the Atlanta Show once again with a head of steam. Bounce pass that's intercepted by Vince Reynosa, and he finds a wide open, all alone, Eric Nuncio, and the foul as Parks fell on top of him. A nice little hesitation by Eric Nuncio, who, as you can see, sporting the colors. Let's take another look at that one. Beautiful, just that little hitch in the giddy up causes Parks to pick up his first personal. Missouri Michon Lewis back into the game. He will spell Ben Conwell, and Brian Rutledge checks in for Atlanta. So for the three-point opportunity, Eric Nuncio at the line, and he converts. 2 for 2 from the charity stripe today is Nuncio. Parks, near side. He'll jack up a three. This won't fall off the front of the rim. Rebound by Eric Nuncio. And watch this, Eric Stewart! Oh, lays it in with a little grace. Grins as he does it. Yeah, he has hops, but, you know, go for the high probability there. It's the championship. 3:15 remains in the third. 71-61, largest lead of the game for the Lions. They're up by 10. Yesterday, it was a sluggish first half for Atlanta against Huntsville, where they really poured it on in the second half, and a beautiful stuff by Brian Evans as the Lions roar out. And that off of still the hands of Maurice Strong, and a forced turnover by San Antonio. They'll get the ball with a 10-point lead with 3:01 remaining in the third. Well, today it's the complete opposite, as the second half is all of a sudden the lights have went off on the show. Brian Evans stops direction, and that was a travel. Timeouts on the floor. Now up by 10 with 2:51 remaining in the third quarter. The roles have been reversed, and San Antonio now has the double-digit lead over the Atlanta Show back here after this timeout on the NABL Network. A 10-point San Antonio Lion lead after trailing by as much as 17 in the first half. The Lions have roared back to overtake the Atlanta Show. 2:51 remaining in the third quarter. Atlanta ball after the timeout taken by David Kessler and his coaching staff of Rod Kirshner and Chuck Melito. It's going to be hard, no matter who you are, to out-coach Coach Kessler. Brandon Hopkins for three off the back iron, no good. Ball tips out of bounds into the Atlanta bench. Show ball. Well, after subpar scoring totals in the first half for the San Antonio Lions, Eric Stewart has picked up his game, and he has done so to the tune of 21 points now in the game. And Brian Evans picks up his third personal. Sends Antoine Hall to the line. Hall's first trip to the stripe today, and was 4 for 5 yesterday in the Huntsville game. Makes his first and puts the lead back to double digits for San Antonio. Good crowd on hand today, as one would expect here for the NABL Finals. And the beautiful Life University is a gorgeous campus in Marietta, Georgia. Hall makes them both. 71-63. Pull-up jumper from Brandon Nichols. That falls. And back to a 10-point lead for the San Antonio Lions. Bernard Parks walks it down, drives the lane from the right side, and Bernard Parks back at it. His first points come with 2 minutes left in the third quarter. He hasn't scored since the second. Eric Nuncio all alone after the fake outs. No good from three. Ball tipped up, saved from the baseline. But one save deserved another, and that was a little too late by Missouri Lewis. Atlanta show ball, trying to get back into this one. Brandon Hopkins takes the shot from 3, and he is fouled by Eric Nuncio. It's Nuncio's 3rd personal. Quick feed to Brandon Hopkins, well short on the shot, and there you see the foul. So 3 shots from the line for Hopkins, who was 0 for 1 from the stripe today. And he makes his first. And really can't say enough. If I did have to pick, I mean, 32 points yesterday for Bernard Parks in the Huntsville Force victory. But Brandon Hopkins, who misses his 2nd, came off the bench and really was the decisive factor with his 23 points in the win over Huntsville. And my pick for yesterday's player of the game. 2 out of the 3 fall for Hopkins. 1:40 remains in the 3rd quarter. 6-point San Antonio lead. Brandon Nichols near side loses the handle on the ball, and it goes out of bounds. Good defense by Brian Rutledge. And it gives the ball right back with 92 ticks remaining on the clock in the 3rd quarter to Atlanta. Number 21. Parks dishes it to Rutledge. Rutledge goes for 3. Long rebound, and that's collected eventually by Eric Nuncio. Brandon Nichols backs into a pair of Atlanta show players. One of those is Bernard Parks, who ended up with the ball. Alley-oop, not converted, but there was Parks to one-hand it in a high five given by Parks and Strong. Bernard Parks has 30. 60 seconds remains, and trying to do the same thing on the other end of the court. The alley-oop doesn't connect, and instead goes past the baseline. And San Antonio's lead is now trimmed to 4. Atlanta with the ball, 59.3 seconds remaining. Bernard Parks, guarded by Brandon Nichols. Parks turns around to his right side, off the glass and in, off the backboard. And a reset of the clock, 48 seconds. As the NABL officials reset the clock to 48 seconds. Eric Stewart to Brandon Nichols. Nichols' ball poked away by Brian Rutledge. The double team nearly gets the ball away loose on the floor, and Bernard Parks does come up with it. Steal by Atlanta. Bounce pass to Maurice Strong. Off the left side, doesn't fall, but Antoine Hall tips it in. 30 seconds remain in the 3rd. We're back at even, 73-73. One comeback deserves another, right? Evans kicks it out to Brandon Nichols. This well short from 19. And a long rebound by Vince Reynoso. Bounce pass underneath, and Michon Lewis off the backboard and in. 9 seconds remain. Brandon Hopkins charging the lane in a beautiful fadeaway that doesn't fall. 1 second, half a second, and nowhere close to finish out the quarter as San Antonio goes into the 4th quarter up 75-73. Don't go anywhere. A 4th quarter to decide the 2017 NABL Championship is coming your way after this timeout on the NABL Network. Start of the 4th quarter, and San Antonio, which went into the half down by 16, now lead at the start of the final period of regulation by 2. With the lead and the ball, Brian Evans walks it up the floor. Eric Nuncio driving the inside of the lane from the right side, and Eric Nuncio good on the layup. Near side, Bernard Parks One hands it. Fighting for his own rebound and out of bounds. Off of Brian Evans. And Atlanta ball. Bernard Parks inbounding from the left side of the basket. Finds a wide open Antoine Hall, who shook off Brian Evans. And where was the defense there? Eric Nuncio, right side, 77-75. Eric Stewart, loose on the floor, picks up the ball. And Eric Stewart now drives the lane and goes coast to coast to lay it in from the right side. For three, Bernard Parks well short, but Brian Rutledge was right underneath, feeds it back to Parks. It goes underneath to Antoine Hall. Can't get it to stick in the bucket. Eric Nuncio comes up with it, tries on a fast break, but he's outnumbered by yellow jerseys. Backs it off, gives it to Eric Stewart. Stewart and whistles. And Michon Lewis picks up his first personal of the contest. 10 points for Brian Evans. $18 for Eric Nuncio so far. And 23 for Eric Stewart in this comeback as we sit 79-75 Lions. Defense, no, that's a foul on Michon Lewis as he quickly picks up his second. And second team foul in the fourth quarter for San Antonio. So Bernard Parks will head back to the line. And so far today, 7 for 8 from the stripe for Parks. Misses his first. As you see Eric Nuncio there on your screen. Nuncio sitting with 18 points in this contest, and he's always working on the officials. As Parks spins, and the NABL MVP makes his second. Trims the lead to 3, 79-76. 10:15 remaining here in regulation. San Antonio with the lead in the ball. Brian Evans, two hands it to Vince Reynosa. Ball poked away by Brian Rutledge. Back to Brian Evans. Kicked out in between the circles to Eric Stewart. Stewart with Parks guarding. Stewart spins to his right and is fouled by Bernard Parks. And Parks has palms up, wondering exactly what the infraction was. That is Parks' second personal and first team foul of the quarter for Atlanta. And the question right now is, was Eric Stewart in the process of shooting? We look there, and I would say yes. But I am not wearing one of the NABL officials' uniforms. So instead, side out for San Antonio. Nuncio inbounds to Brian Evans in between the circles. Evans guarded by Antoine Hall. Pull-up shots. And from the top of the key, Brian Evans is good from the 19. Brian Evans has a dozen. Steal, and underneath the basket, Eric Nuncio. And Bernard Parks has picked up his third personal. As we check out the replay. Second team foul for Atlanta. And Eric Nuncio, as they mop up a wet spot on the floor. We'll head to the line. Nuncio yesterday in the 119-106 victory over the Kitsap Admirals had 6 points, was more of a defensive player as he misses his free throw, but San Antonio gets the rebound. Long shot from the corner, doesn't fall, and that's a rebound for Maurice Strong, who has now amounted his 8th rebound of the game. Bernard Parks, pull up from the right elbow, and off the inside of the rim, and rebound by Vince Reynosa over to Eric Nuncio. But Nuncio today, after 6 yesterday, has 20 points in the outing today for San Antonio. Nuncio fighting his way in against Brendan Hopkins, underneath the basket and using the backboard again, and Nuncio has caught fire, and so have the San Antonio Lions once again up by 9 with 9 to play in the fourth. Brandon Hopkins, right wing, given a lot of space by Vince Reynosa, and Brandon Hopkins will take that shot. Vince was giving it to him. Rebound by Ben Conwell over to Eric Stewart, now to Nuncio. Well, after this game, the NABL Championship Series MVP will be awarded their trophy and announced in the post-game ceremony, as well as the presentation of the NABL trophy. Nuncio for 3. Oh my goodness! Eric Nuncio. And a timeout taken by David Kessler in the Atlanta show. 88-76 here in the fourth. Look at the handiwork of Eric Nuncio underneath the basket. Number 14 is right now number 1 in the hearts of all in the Alamo City. And you won't find a more fired up player than Nuncio, who right now has sparked this comeback by the San Antonio Lions. In Atlanta right now, reeling the defending NABL champions on how to get properly back into this one. After being up 16 to start the second half, midway through the third, by the 7-minute mark, San Antonio had erased that deficit and had the lead. By leading now by their largest margin, up by 12, with 8.5 remaining in the fourth quarter. San Antonio, the team that, I'll be honest, I've picked against in virtually every game that mattered throughout this season on the NABL TV show, The Backcourt. And trust me, they've let me know I have. And actually today, head coach T.C. Caviel came up to me and he's like, "You picked against us, right?" They think it's good luck now at this point. They don't want anybody to go for them. Josh Montgomery driving the lane, shooting over Nuncio, but good defense by Nuncio. And he fends off Antoine Hall, and Nuncio's going to run it down the court. No look pass to Ben Conwell, who wasn't quite ready for it, but it goes off the heel and shoe and out of bounds of Bernard Parks. And Kessler right now is sticking with his starting core minus Brendan Hopkins, who's in the game. San Antonio ball. And a whistle as they reset the shot clock. And heads over to the scoring table. Brian Evans sitting by the scoring table. And San Antonio inbounds to Nuncio. Brendan Hopkins, a reach-in foul. Almost had the steal, but you have the two quickest players on the court battling against each other. And Brandon Hopkins earns his second personal, third team foul for Atlanta. Just inside of 8 left to play in the regulation. Long inbound pass by Vince Reynosa to Ben Conwell. Conwell spins around off the backboard and in. And Conwell's first point since the second quarter. Extend the lead. San Antonio now up by 14 as Atlanta has been silenced here in the second half. That doesn't fall for Parks. Rebound Conwell and over to Eric Nuncio near side. Nuncio, what a second half. He has been clamoring to get on the backcourt and on camera all season long, and he may just do it if San Antonio can finish out this deal, now leading by 16 points. Parks checks up a 3. That well short. Antoine Hall fights for the rebound and gets it. Tries to put it in on the second opportunity. It can. Ben Conwell gets the rebound. Eric Stewart weaves his way through the yellow jerseys. He wants to go coast to coast. Now he backs it out. Down low. Ben Conwell all alone off the square and in. And Conwell, who was so huge in the second half of yesterday's win over Kitsap, and another timeout taken on the floor. A full 60-second timeout by David Kessler as Atlanta tries to collect themselves and figure out how to get back into this one. Down by 18, 94-76, 6:47 left to go in the fourth quarter. We'll be back here on the NABL Network. Atlanta ball after the timeout. Eric Nuncio on the timeout, you would think would be talking to his teammates. No, he was shouting up here to our broadcast booth as Antoine Hall is stuffed by Ben Conwell. Nuncio was saying, I'm going to be talking to you after the game, Ken. We'll see. We'll see. It'd be a good interview, that's for sure. Brian Evans short on the three-pointer. Rebound Bernard Parks. Just under 6.5 left to go in the fourth quarter. Atlanta show, Josh Montgomery baseline drive from the left side, and then that's off the glass and in. Montgomery's first points of the fourth quarter. And a timeout's San Antonio. We'll stick with it here on the NABL Network. 6:14 remains in the fourth quarter, 94-78. Well, we speculated, and we said even in the pregame show that San Antonio is a very ebb and flow kind of team. They are prone sometimes to start off very slowly, as they did in the contest today. But that usually doesn't hold to be the case for very long, as you see Eric Nuncio, who has really become the spark plug in this second half for the San Antonio Lions. Up by 16 at this point with 6:15 left to go. But San Antonio, a team that has defied logic throughout this entire season. They don't have a lengthy workout to warm up before games. They kind of just show up to play. And Eric Nuncio takes it across the timeline and is feeling it. But it's worked all season long for them. But really what's worked for the San Antonio Lions is an added focus on defense, something they did not have in 2016. Turnaround jumper for Brandon Nichols is short off the left side of the rim and into the hands of Bernard Parks. Well, it's that defensive focus of the Lions that needs to be the case now. San Antonio wants to close this out, and that helped as it misdirected Bernard Parks' shot just enough. Interception by Norm Stewart, kicked over to Brandon Hopkins rather, and the ball tipped out of bounds by Eric Nuncio. Atlanta ball. 5:32 remains in the fourth quarter. Ken Buckner with you courtside on the NABL Network. This NABL Championship Series and finale to the series weekend. You can see any of the games from yesterday right here at NABLbasketball.com. And a travel as Josh Montgomery backed his way through the paint. And Atlanta at this point can ill afford any sort of unforced errors. Inbound to Brian Evans. San Antonio, a team that likes to talk on the court. Reminds me a lot of the old Detroit Pistons in a way, that they jaw all through the game. A beautiful stuff by Bernard Parks as Brian Evans went down the lane. Let's take another look at that. It was all ball, all Bernard Parks. And Atlanta ball. Norm Stewart for three. Short, rebound by Josh Montgomery. Behind the back pass by Montgomery. Kick now work clockwise to Brandon Hopkins through the hands of Maurice Strong and into the midst of Eric Nuncio. 3-on-3, but holding up. Bouncing to the right. Brandon Nichols feeds it to Ben Conwell. Conwell underneath the basket, and he loops it in with a hook shot. Conwell has 10. 4:32 and ticking left to go in the fourth quarter. 96-78. The Lions looking to go up by 20 at this point. Maurice Strong, he can't get it to fall, and it's just been a case of the shot not being there in the second half at all for Atlanta. San Antonio, no look pass under the basket, and that draws the whistle as Norm Stewart has picked up his 5th foul by my unofficial count. And that is the 4th team foul on Atlanta. And they can ill afford to give San Antonio the chance to get into the bonus. An excellent shooting center from the free throw line, Ben Conwell, as Eric Stewart checks in for Brian Evans, and also coming in is Keith Benford. Darius Scott will substitute for Brandon Hopkins on the Atlanta side. And Conwell has one left to shoot. So for San Antonio on the floor, you have Josh Simmons, Ben Conwell, Keith Benford, and Eric Stewart, along with Brandon Nichols. Nuncio gets a rest. Conwell misses the shot. Rebound by Darius Scott. Loses the handle, and it's stolen by Eric Stewart. Up by 19. Trying to make it more, and timeout taken, I believe, by the Lions. No, by the officials to reset the clock. 19 seconds put on the shot clock. 3:55 left to go in the 4th. San Antonio up 97-78. Ball stripped away by Darius Scott. Josh Montgomery kicks it near side to Bernard Parks. Parks fights and splits through the defense, but he can't get the shot to fall, and that's been the narrative for the last 2 quarters for the San Antonio defense. Just getting enough defense in the face of the Atlanta show to misguide those shots. 3.5 left to play. 97-78. This is why you don't bet against San Antonio. Brandon Nichols hands it off to Eric Stewart. Stewart with Bernard Parks, pokes it away, but it goes into the hands of a shot clock violation. .316, adding a second to the game clock. 3:16 remaining. Bernard Parks, near side. Atlanta, don't count them out. And Darius Scott well short on his 3-point attempt, and he was trying for a foul more than I think a bucket. He didn't get either. Stewart said some words to Keith Benford to set the offense. Eric Nuncio looking to check back in. The next opportunity for San Antonio. So is Antoine Hall. 2:49 remains in the 4th. Driving left side of the lane, underhand not there, but there was Ben Conwell to put it in. Off the rebound and in for Conwell, who again, late in the game, has been a huge decision maker and difference maker for the Lions. Short on the shot for Parks. Parks to Montgomery, and that's on the backboard and out of bounds. Bernard Parks, who has 33 points in the game, only has 1 point in this 4th quarter. There is your difference. San Antonio putting the clamps on Parks, and Nuncio's back in the game. So is Antoine Hall for Atlanta. Guarded by Norm Stewart. Nuncio, he'll shoot from 18. Off the front of the rim, no good. Almost tipped in by Benford underneath, but Antoine Hall ends up with it. Having trouble dribbling it, gets it across the timeline. 2:05 left on the clock in the 4th. Bounce pass to Josh Montgomery. Behind the back to Maurice Strong and in. And the big man Strong comes up with his 4th point in the game. 2 minutes left to go in the 4th. Josh Simmons, bounce pass to Conwell. Conwell tries to lay it in, doesn't fall, but Keith Benford ends up with the rebound. Eric Stewart fakes out Parks. Ball stripped away underneath the basket by Strong. It's loose on the floor. Conwell picks it up, slapped away by Antoine Hall. Norm Stewart now for 3. No, he dishes it to Josh Montgomery, who takes it over to Bernard Parks, who checked where he was on the line and looked up, didn't convert the shot. Parks has gone cold. Will the Atlanta show come back? Can they defend? Right now, they're just standing still and letting San Antonio run away with this one. 99-80. And San Antonio is on the verge. Long shot, well off the mark to really just eat away time. Parks to Antoine Hall. Hall for three. That doesn't fall. Atlanta can't buy a bucket. They may see the writing on the wall. 55 seconds. Ben Conwell, he's fouled on his way by Josh Montgomery. Third personal for Montgomery. And now that puts San Antonio in the bonus for the rest of the way. 53 seconds remaining. And Conwell, as we said, one of the better free throw shooters on San Antonio. Brian Rutledge looks to come in, and this may be it, as the San Antonio Lions are starting to celebrate. Conwell extends the San Antonio lead now by an even 20. San Antonio, owned by Mark Denkwalter, Vince Reynoso, the founder. 47 seconds remain. The Lions, who missed the championship series by a couple of free throws last year in 2016, stolen at the stripe by Eric Stewart, have fought their way throughout this season. Eric Nunzio adds to his total with a three-pointer there. He will be our player of the game. And you will hear him, yes, from the post-game show, no doubt.
Just these two X's like, no. Oh, okay.
30 points for Nunzio on this one. And Eric Nunzio will hold. The San Antonio Lions are the 2017 champions of the North American Basketball League. 103-82 is your final over the Atlanta show. 103-82. A decisive victory for the San Antonio Lions over the Atlanta show. Once again, 103-82, the final. Congratulations to Atlanta on a successful 2017, and congratulations to San Antonio. They are the NABL champions. Our player of the game with 30 points for the Lions, Eric Nunzio, and we're getting ready for the championship trophy presentation and the NABL Series MVP. Well, thank you for watching here live at NABLbasketball.com on the NABL network. We will be back here momentarily with the start of our post-game show. I go now down to the floor for our post-game interviews and the presentation of the trophy.
The 2017 champions of the North American Basketball League. Congratulations to the San Antonio Lions, 103-82 victors over the Atlanta show. Stand by for our presentation of NABL Championship Series MVP and winning trophy of the North American Basketball League Championship. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2017 champions of the North American Basketball League, the San Antonio Lions. And now to officially present the trophy for Championship Series Most Valuable Player. Commissioner Steve Johnson with the trophy.
The championship series, MVP, Mr. Lucio.
With 30 points today in the NABL Final Championship game. 30 points, Eric Lucio, Championship Series MVP. All right, hang on. All right, Eric, you and came out and you looked up to me in the broadcast booth and you said, "You're going to be talking to me after the game. You're going to be talking to me." You knew this comeback was going to happen. Now 16 points at halftime to come back and win 103-82. Tell us about this game. Tell us about the comeback and the season of the Lions.
First off, the season is how it was. April 1st, 2017, we was not winning. Like, that's when we came. April 1st, right? There was a team in San Antonio trying to talk. That's what we had to do. Prove points in the city. Everyone denied, unionized. Every game, we had to play, right? Every game, we had to play unionized. That's the proof. So at the end of the day, like, we all brothers. Like, this ain't the first championship we won. We won one tournament. We won all of Texas, Oklahoma. That's what we do. This is what we do. This is our brothers. Like, this ain't the first time we play. This is like 6 years. So it's more work than off. Like, I'm being 100%. Like, that's my brother like that shoot. Like, it really was for me to get love that every work. You know what I'm saying? So that's when we came. We big, Missouri, Dragon, Pete, got Jay Seals, BJ, Kevin, Coach DC, my man, Suits, and Security. All day. We were hated all day, bro. We used to that's it, you know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, we're cool. Now we're here, you know what I'm saying? And I'm retired, I'm the coach now, and that's what it is. And now, they're the champions. All right, Vince Reynoso, the founder of the San Antonio Lions. Man, when you put this team together before last year, when you joined the NABL, it's been a process, it's been a journey. Your emotions right now to the NABL champions. This isn't real. I know we did everything for the guys. When we put it on the board, this thing is so good on all the hard work we put into it. We did it, man. And we will do it next year. San Antonio will be the host city for the 2018 NABL Championship Series. Yes, so there you go. Give me Stu. Come on, Stu. All right. 3-time NABL Player of the Week finalist.
Cool as a cucumber. Eric Stu right here, number 22. What does this championship mean to you?
Everything, bro. Last year we came up short. Told my team, had to come back, we did this year better than we did. Back to the tone, baby.
All right, here comes PC. PC, here we go. Come over here. Yeah, I'm going to make you talk. All right. The biggest change from last year to this year, Lions have always been able to put points on the board, but the team defense has been stifling for the rest of the Western Conference into the playoffs and here in the championship series. I mean, quite frankly, you locked down Bernardi Parks to only 1 point in the fourth quarter. Talk about the team defense and the overall effort here in the championship series.
Well, our team is really athletic. I mean, these guys are really good ball. Like I said, we can ball each other. We go take return. But I always say, if you bring us on offense, it's like on defense. We know how to do the game, I'll stop it. If you're not going to do the stop, then turns the team to terrible. And they can't stop us on offense. So we play defense. We do whatever we can. So we come back next Sunday and play the way we play, and maybe do stops, get in the head. That's the ball game.
Well, you're the coach of the champions, my friend.
All I gotta do is get frustrated yourself in the middle and all you do is they do everything else.
I gotta say, they do it like nobody else. They have an extremely unorthodox style, but you know what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And today, they are champions of the North American Basketball League. Give it up one more time. The 2017 NABL champs, the San Antonio Lions.
With a 16-2 record, West Conference champions, and today they are now your 2017 NABL champions.
Yeah, we know. He just said that. Oh, it's so repetitive. Just said that. Is he coming back up? Huh?
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of everybody within the NABL front office, all of our teams, franchises, owners, staff, we thank you for being here in attendance this entire championship series weekend. To the teams that traveled